The Hundred Years' War, a monumental conflict spanning from 1337 to 1453, stands as one of the most transformative and enduring wars in medieval European history, a century-long struggle between the Kingdom of England and the Kingdom of France that reshaped both nations, altered the course of monarchies, and left an indelible mark on the development of Europe. The origins of this vast conflict lay in dynastic disputes, political ambitions, and territorial tensions that had been simmering for decades. The immediate cause was the death of Charles IV of France in 1328, which left the French crown without a direct male heir. While the French nobility invoked Salic law to exclude inheritance through the female line and crowned Philip VI of Valois, Edward III of England, grandson of Philip IV of France through his mother, claimed the French throne, setting the stage for decades of bitter contention. This claim, compounded by long-standing disputes over land such as Aquitaine, economic rivalry, and the desire for prestige and dominance, escalated into full-scale war. The conflict was not continuous but consisted of intermittent campaigns, truces, and sporadic periods of relative peace, punctuated by key battles and sieges that would become legendary in the annals of medieval warfare. In the early phase, known as the Edwardian War, Edward III achieved remarkable victories at battles such as Crécy in 1346, where the English longbowmen decimated heavily armoured French knights, and Poitiers in 1356, where King John II of France was captured, a stunning blow to French morale and a turning point that demonstrated the effectiveness of new military technologies and tactics. These victories were accompanied by devastating raids, known as chevauchées, which ravaged the French countryside, weakened feudal loyalties, and destabilized regional power structures. Yet the English successes were counterbalanced by internal challenges, logistical strains, and the resilience of the French crown, which gradually recovered under the leadership of the Dauphin Charles and regional lords who maintained resistance despite repeated setbacks. The Black Death of 1347 to 1351 further complicated the conflict, decimating populations on both sides and affecting economies, armies, and the very fabric of society, but did not end hostilities, demonstrating the entrenched nature of the rivalry. As the war progressed into the Caroline War, 1369 to 1389, the French mounted a more effective response, reclaiming territories through strategic offensives and leveraging political alliances, while England faced internal turmoil, financial difficulties, and a gradual decline in military dominance. The Lancastrian phase of the war, beginning in 1415, was marked by the legendary campaign of Henry V, who renewed English aggression with remarkable success, most famously at the Battle of Agincourt, where his smaller, exhausted forces achieved a decisive victory against the numerically superior French army through discipline, longbow mastery, and tactical ingenuity. Agincourt became emblematic of English martial prowess and the deadly efficiency of emerging battlefield tactics, cementing Henry V as one of the great military leaders of the age. Following these victories, the Treaty of Troyes in 1420 seemed to solidify English claims, recognizing Henry V and his heirs as successors to the French throne and effectively disinheriting the Dauphin Charles, yet fate intervened as Henry V died prematurely in 1422, leaving an infant son, Henry VI, whose minority created political instability and revived French resistance. At this critical juncture, a young peasant girl named Joan of Arc emerged as an unlikely but transformative figure, claiming divine guidance, inspiring French forces, and leading a series of victories that culminated in the lifting of the Siege of Orleans in 1429, turning the tide of the war and galvanizing French national sentiment. Joan's leadership demonstrated the power of symbolism, morale, and faith in medieval warfare, though her capture, trial, and execution in 1431 added a tragic dimension to her heroism and further inflamed French determination. In the decades that followed, France consolidated power under Charles VII, adopting more professional military organization, expanding the use of artillery, and implementing effective strategies that gradually expelled the English from most of their continental possessions. The war finally concluded in 1453, with a French victory at the Battle of Castillon, marking the end of English territorial ambitions in France, save for Calais, and signaling a shift toward centralized state power and the decline of feudal levies as the dominant military force. Beyond the battlefield, the Hundred Years' War had profound social, economic, and cultural consequences. It fostered the development of national identity in both France and England, encouraged innovations in military technology and organization, reshaped trade and agriculture due to the devastation of lands and population losses, and influenced the political landscape of Europe for generations to come. The conflict illustrated the interplay between dynastic ambition, military innovation, and societal transformation, showing that wars of succession could escalate into century-long struggles with lasting consequences. It also highlighted the role of individual leaders, the impact of charismatic figures like Joan of Arc, and the emerging importance of professional armies over feudal levies, signaling the gradual evolution of warfare in the late Middle Ages. In essence, the 100 Years' War was not merely a series of battles but a crucible that forged the modern nations of France and England, a testament to the endurance of human ambition, the horrors of prolonged conflict, and the resilience of societies under extraordinary pressure. The legacy of this war endures in literature, art, military history, and national consciousness, reminding us that the ambitions of kings and the courage of individuals can alter the course of history in ways both profound and lasting, and that the consequences of prolonged warfare extend far beyond the battlefield, shaping the political, social, and cultural landscapes of entire continents for generations. It is a story of kings and peasants, of knights and longbowmen, of sieges and victories, of tragedy and triumph, and it remains one of the defining chapters of medieval European history, illustrating the complexity of power, the volatility of dynastic claims, and the enduring human struggle for sovereignty, identity, and legacy. The 100 Years' War stands as a monumental reminder that history is forged not only in the halls of kings but also on the blooded fields where ordinary men and women confront extraordinary circumstances, and that the reverberations of such a conflict echo across centuries, influencing the rise of nations, the evolution of warfare, and the shaping of modern Europe. But the real game-changer was Henry's use of the longbow. English archers, equipped with powerful longbows, could shoot arrows that pierced armor from a considerable distance. As the French army advanced, they were bombarded by waves of arrows, which decimated their front lines. The French, expecting to charge in and crush the English, were caught off guard. While the French knights struggled to advance through the mud, the English archers continued to fire relentlessly. As the French cavalry became stuck in the boggy ground, they were easy targets for the English archers. By the time the French forces reached the English line, they were exhausted, disorganized, and severely depleted. The French were unable to use their cavalry effectively, and their numbers were too large to maneuver through the tight, muddy terrain. Henry's tactical brilliance, combined with the deadly efficiency of the longbow, led to a decisive victory. The French lost thousands of soldiers, including many high-ranking nobles, while the English sustained far fewer casualties. This victory at Agincourt was not just a military triumph, it was a turning point in the 100 Years' War. It showed that with the right tactics, a smaller, seemingly weaker force could defeat a much larger and more powerful enemy. Henry's victory at Agincourt remains one of the most remarkable military feats in history, and it proved that intelligence, strategy, and innovation could overcome overwhelming odds. The Battle of Agincourt is a timeless example of how courage and cunning can change the course of history. If you enjoyed this story, don't forget to subscribe for more captivating historical moments. Let us know in the comments what other battles or moments in history you'd like to learn more about.